Hello again, everybody, and welcome into the Take the North podcast, along with Dan Wiederer of the Chicago Tribune. I am Mark Grote of Chicago Sports Radio, 670 The Score. We are smack dab in the middle of training camp, and guess what? I'm not sure if I could say that things have taken a hard turn for the better for Caleb Williams, but things have gotten better for QB1 and the Chicago Bears. I have been in our downtown Chicago studios talking about the Bears the last couple of days on assignment, I suppose we could say, from the Take the North podcast. But guess what? Our superstar, Dan Wiederer, lives at Haugh. Dan, what is up? Tell us what you have seen from Caleb Williams in the last couple of days and why things are slowly but surely starting to be more encouraging with the quarterback that everybody believes is going to be here for a long time.
I'm not there yet, Grote. So maybe that'll jar you a little bit. I'm just not there yet. And I'll be honest with you. Like we talked the other day about how this camp to this point has been a little bit uneventful, and it remains that way. You know, there haven't been days out here that you walk out toward the parking lot at the end of it and go, wow, that was something significant today. There was something seismic that happened today. They were in pads on Monday and Tuesday. They went back to a very light session today in just shells, helmets and shorts today, and shoulder pads. And so you've got a situation where you're trying to interpret things where there may not be a lot to interpret. And so today's work was about a 90-minute practice, a little bit less than 90 minutes out back there on the backfields at Haugh. The teamwork was limited. There was some red zone stuff. There was a 7-on-7 red zone period today where Caleb only had one completion on 5 pass attempts, right? And so those are moments in 7-on-7 where you're like, man, like you would hope for there to be a fireworks show one of these days where you're like, okay, we're doing low red zone work. 3 of these 5 passes are going to end in the end zone, and there's going to be touchdowns and things to celebrate. His only touchdown, the 11-on-11 teamwork toward the end of practice, was on a read option keeper. Got a good block from Colston, Loveland on the edge, took it in, but didn't complete a pass in that session either. And so I think there's just a reminder here that, listen, you and I have been very fair from the get-go of this camp, that it is very, very fair to draw observations at this stage of training camp. It is really, really impractical to draw conclusions, right? And so we're at the stage now where we're kind of piecing this together, trying to figure out the volume that's on Caleb's plate, both pre-snap and post-snap, and ultimately looking for what you asked for before camp started, which is consistency, stringing together a bunch of days. And from what I'm asking for is a little bit more sizzle. And there just hasn't been a lot of sizzle from the offense out here. And so I wish I could give Bears fans greater news. Again, it's July 30th. The calendar hasn't even flipped to August yet. There's a lot more to go, and hopefully we can continue to bring you along. But we did get a chance to hear from Caleb today, and you get a little bit more of QB1's perspective on kind of the growth and the evolution of this whole camp.
Yeah, so what was today's practice number 7? 7. Yep. So I've been to 4 of the practices. I have yet to see the offense or Caleb Williams look good, but it's hey, progress is progress, and I like the reports that I've been hearing from you and other people out there that it's better. But as you just said, it's still not good. So
right, like I said to Brad Biggs walking off the field today, I said that 7 practices in, there's yet to be a day that registers as impressive for the quarterback. Right, and that's not taking a dump on anything. It's just it is hard facts of what we've watched here through the first 2 weeks of camp practices, and hopefully you get a little bit more in the weeks to come that show some impressive flashes from the offensive quarterback.
Yeah, and look, we are all, and I think the reason why maybe you've heard, or I have heard, the way I've seen it, some more encouraging than the first 4 practices is because every reporter out there, including you, including me, has to figure out what is real and what is not, considering the fact that this is a new offense, that this is new language, that this is a new head coach, that there is a new defense out there. That all factors in. There is a new way of doing business at Haugh. So we all have to tuck that into our perspective when we are telling you what we see. But at the very least, this podcast, we are going to tell you exactly what we are seeing. And what I saw on the field, like, we can't make stuff up, was just not good. Can it be better? Can it even be great? Sure, things can click, but I'm not going to lie to people. I'm not going to try to soften it. And clearly you're not going to either. And I want to point out too, Dan and I are 2 people who said it's time for Justin Fields to go. It's time for Caleb Williams. We buy into Caleb Williams. And take that in mind. Both of us are telling you it ain't there yet. Can it get there? Absolutely.
No question. And that's why when we had that conversation the other day, Grote, about what's line for seeing this urgence, is it week 1, is it the end of 2026? Everybody's going to have to calibrate that differently. Certainly the people in the building are going to have to get there. Listen, there are podcasts in this market that will tell you what you want to hear if all you're looking for is the trumpets and the pom-poms to be waving and saying, yes, the Bears have arrived. There are people on social media that will give you play-by-play of every play of a practice and try to sugarcoat it in ways that make everyone feel really, really excited for the season. We did a survey at the end of last year about why people like to take the North. They liked it because we tell it like it is, and that's where we're at right now. 7 practices into camp, and hopefully we can, use the quarterback's own words today to kind of advance some of the discussion on where he's headed and where he wants to go.
All right, buddy. Let's get to some of what we're talking about. Let's hear what Caleb Williams is actually saying about the things that you and I are discussing right now. Like I said, I wasn't out there, but I did listen to the entire Caleb Williams press conference with the Q&A and all of that, and I'm going to bring you guys what I think are the 3 most important things that came out of that press conference today. The first thing Caleb Williams was asked, as it pertains to everything is new, as we were just talking about, he was asked, does the workload of what you're being asked to learn right now, what is that like compared to last year with the Bears and then even in college at USC? Here's Caleb.
It's different. It's going to be different every year. Next year, I'll be handling more. Next year, I'll be handling more. Year after that, I'll be handling more. I think that's where, it's at right now. We're installing a bunch. They're putting, they've installed a lot, OTAs now, and they're just, seeing how much, I can retain. And I take pride in, trying to retain it all, every single detail that we have. And I think that's where, I've been growing so far since Ben's been here, is retaining all the information. All of it makes sense to me, and being able to go out there and execute. Obviously there's going to be mistakes, but being able to understand that it was a mistake that by me, or we lined up wrong, or the whatever the case may be, getting back in the huddle, calling it right, getting back out there, doing it, executing, being a player-led team.
You say that there's little or no carryover from what you were taught last year to what you're being taught now. Does it feel that way to you, like you are starting fresh?
Yeah, no, it feels, every year is going to be a start fresh year in that sense, but Ben, him and I are going to be here, for a while, which is the plan. And, there's going to be carryover from now on, but yeah, it's different. It's a whole new playbook, different terminology, different reads, different footwork, and different things like that. So it's it was a lot, and it's still going to always be a lot. That's a part of playing this position, and so being able to go out there and handle it all is what we get paid to do. It's our job.
The only thing I didn't like about that, and I understand it, I mean, he's generalizing a little bit. He's given the start fresh every year disclaimer, but in between all of that, this is the most important year that he will have with Ben Johnson as far as the install is concerned. Can he consume Ben Johnson's playbook and what Ben Johnson is talented at and superior at to other offensive coordinators and now head coaches? So I do think that he's selling it a little short about how different this probably is for him relative to his last 2 years of football life.
Well, I think, some of what we're talking about here, Grote, is volume, right? And you heard Caleb use the word retention there in his answer. And so they are putting a lot on him, and you're seeing the volume of the playbook keep Caleb Williams from playing fast and free. You're seeing the different pressures and challenges that the defense is bringing every day keep Caleb Williams from playing fast and free. You're seeing the load of pre-snap responsibility that's on his plate prevent Caleb Williams from playing fast and free. And so ultimately throughout this training camp period and into August, they're going to have to smooth through all that. They're going to have to get him comfortable with the workload that he's taking on, the volume that he's taking on. And ultimately, as we get toward the end of next month, there needs to be a process of refining everything, of throwing certain things out, catering what they want to do around what Caleb's comfortable with. And that's all a work in progress here. And so you hear that from Caleb about having no carryover from the previous year's play caller, from the previous year's playbook, from the previous year's terminology. And so there's a lot here. And we can talk about the mountain of responsibilities even before the snap that Caleb's trying to work through right now, which is, it's voluminous, right? Like even on the discussion of motions and shifts on which Ben Johnson's offense relies heavily on, Caleb's got to understand which motions and shifts attached to which plays. and he's got to figure out how to time those up. He's got to figure out how to communicate all those things within a huddle, get up to the line of scrimmage. One of the things that we've talked about with that quarterback show on Netflix, where they did a really good job recently of kind of detailing what all a quarterback has to be responsible for from the second the play call starts coming into his headset to the time he takes the snap. It's overwhelming. And right now, Caleb Williams is working through that with all these factors and dynamics that we've talked about, and it's a little clunky. And so over time, you expect it to get smoother. You hope it gets smoother, and then you hope the coaching staff adjusts to the things that are causing the quarterback a little bit of difficulty.
Yeah, and I think another one of the challenges to add on to what you're saying here, Dan, is there are new people that he's working into this offense. Hey, here's Luther Burden. Guess who's here? It's Luther Burden. Hey, Colston Loveland is on the field now. So you have two guys that, along with Caleb Williams, are fresh to the NFL. I get it. Everybody's kind of learning. But the guys that are veterans on the offense, probably naturally, like DJ Moore, guys like that, are probably going to be able to pick up this offense a little bit faster than somebody like Colston Loveland and Luther Burden and anybody that is new when Ozzie Trapillo is in, if he is to be the team's left tackle. So it ain't just Caleb when we're talking about trying to put together all these pieces into an offense that is not only competent, but an offense that attacks defenses, I think is the way Caleb Williams or somebody put it today.
It's the way they all put it right now. That's Ben Johnson's mentality, is to just attack. And Caleb talked about, hey, one of the reasons that we are showing added burst out of the huddle right now is so that we can play with that mentality of let's go. We're going to get to the line of scrimmage. We're going to use that extra time on the play clock to diagnose what we're seeing, give everybody a chance to look at things and figure out how the play is going to unfold. But you also want the defense to feel you and realize that you are going to be the aggressor. And that's what they're trying to get him in the mindset of doing. When we talk about all the stuff that's on Caleb's plate pre-snap, well, post-snap, now you say, okay, take the snap, understand where this play call is designed, understand what it's supposed to do against different defenses you see. And now we've told you to complete 70% of your passes, which means get the ball out of your hands quickly and don't take a lot of sacks. But also we want you to use your greatest gift of all, your superpower, which is the improvisational skills you have on the move and in a scramble drill. So try to balance that in with also getting the ball away quickly. And also don't make silly throws when you're trying to get rid of the ball quickly. Make sure you're out of the pocket, getting it across the side. There is so much here, right? Like the quarterback is trying to adjust to and absorb and really to please his coaching staff with that. I think it is voluminous right now. And hopefully over time, you just start to see him be a little bit more comfortable and just in more of a groove.
Voluminous seems to be the word of the day coming out of Wiederer's mouth. Studs, write that down. It's such a good word. It feels good to say that. Whenever you have a V word like that, like voluminous, just smooth coming out of your mouth, Weeds.
Yeah, we talked earlier about the C word culture. Now you're talking about the V word, voluminous. So we'll move on in this discussion pretty quickly because I don't want you getting us in trouble here, Grote.
Oh, the thing is we really wanted to whiteboard that we could, but I'm not going to because.
No, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. So the other big thing, you just went through a litany of voluminous options and things that Caleb has to work on, and that all the stuff, everything that's coming at him. And that's true. I'm glad you pointed it out because that gives me even like just to hear it from somebody else, more perspective. Another thing that Caleb Williams is working on this year, a big deal, is that he is the majority of what he is doing this year, unlike past years, is under center, not shotgun. But according to Caleb Williams today at the lectern, Dan, no big deal.
Hasn't really been a challenge for me under center. I know that's been a big thing. But there hasn't really been a challenge. It's just been, gaining the knowledge, how, the footwork, where we need to be, the landmarks of the running back, the landmark for me, when I set up or when when I'm rolling out or anything like that. So it's just been, practicing the technique. And so what I like about it, you get hard sell actions, backers biting, safety's eyes get, crisscross with different motions and things like that. And, it provides, the defense actually identifies it differently from when you're a gun, back offset and things like that. So it's a bunch of small, minute things that end up mattering, and you end up having guys running free, or you end up having great leverage on the safety or things like that. So it's it's helpful. It's going to be a part of us for a long time.
I appreciate Caleb Williams' confidence, and maybe it is completely comfortable for him. But I would imagine I don't want to overdo it, but I would imagine that's a pretty big change, and one that he is going to have to take some time to get used to, even though I don't know that he's willing to reveal that at this point.
It's certainly a bit of an adjustment, right? And so I think what you have here is a head coach who believes strongly in the potency of the under center running game. He believes strongly in what that does for the play action attack. And you hear the quarterback there talking about just being able to do some more of those hard sells with an under center play action game where you can, really, really get a linebacker to bite, where you can get a safety to see something that he shouldn't be seeing. And now all of a sudden you've got targets that are open and things that should open up for a quarterback to lead to those explosive plays that Ben was so known for in Detroit. And so I think there's a lot of excitement about where they can go, both with their running game and their play action game. And so that's part of this process here. And again, like, you do feel the urgency because Ben told us a week ago, hey, this is a race. And we've only got about 4 weeks until we're crossing the bridge into week 1. But you also understand that they do have time here in the next month to get some of this stuff shored up. And then the stuff that you don't have shored up, you just have to be honest with yourself about it and say, hey, we're not going to go into week 1 trying X, Y, or Z because we're not good at it and we're not comfortable with it yet. And we've just got to keep working on it behind the scenes before we put it in on a big stage. And so that's going to be part of the process that I think Ben and Caleb and the rest of the offense has to go through.
Yeah. And I do think it's something that he can find the comfort in, but these are, as you kind of indicated, when it comes to Ben Johnson, these are the absolute crucial basics, like the rudimentary parts. Like, I can run this offense if this, if that, and if this. And I feel like he is systematically, Ben Johnson, that is surgically going through all of those things. Like, we want to see all the plays put in, learn the playbook, but there are just some mechanical things that Ben Johnson can say to Caleb Williams. If you could do this, this, and this, we can do this, and this. So it really is a crucial part of everything. We heard Caleb Williams talking about Colston Loveland a little bit today. He has been back out there. He is the Bears' first round pick. He is, in theory, the most important rookie on that field and maybe one of the most important receivers, period, on paper going forward for the Bears. So here is what Caleb Williams so far is saying about the Bears' top draft pick, Colston Loveland.
He's been great. He's a smart cat. We've hung out a few times. We actually just him and a couple other teammates. We went down to the city on our off day, and had dinner and things like that. So we're hanging out, building that bond, building that trust. And on the field wise, like I said, he's smart. He knows what he's doing. He's a young cat. So there's going to be a few mistakes and things like that, and maybe hand placement, but. When the ball goes up and things like that, I got all faith in him. The other day I actually threw a ball down the middle to him, and the ball kind of slipped out of my hand. It was a little sweaty, and I kind of raised up because I knew the ball was slipping out of my hand after, and he went up and grabbed it and came down with it. It was a big catch, and things like that provide trust, faith, and belief that whenever that ball goes up in the air, it's his. And so other than that, it's just building a connection, routes and things like that, kind of figuring out how he moves and other things like that. So when we get out there in the field on Sundays, Thursdays, and Mondays and things like that, we're out there rolling.
Moments every day, Grote, where you see some of the flashes from Colston Loveland. My usual talking point is, don't tell me about how good a guy is. Let me see it with my own eyes. Well, now through 2 weeks of camp, we're starting to see more from Colston Loveland. We're seeing the natural separation skills that he has, the great hands that he has. Caleb references there on a ball that slipped out of his hands and went high, and the tight end made the quarterback look good, made a catch, right? Said, if I can touch it, I can catch it, and went up and got it. Ben Johnson noted on Tuesday that there was a block earlier in the week of practice that caught his attention, where Loveland was engaged with a defensive end who tried to kind of put a counter move on it, and Colston anticipated it and snuffed it out. And so it's those instinctive things that's really winning over the coaching staff right now with Loveland. And you just, you feel good about what you've seen. And again, for a guy that missed the entire offseason program as he was recovering from the shoulder surgery, you're not sure what you're going to get when you get into the early stages of camp. It's a rookie with his head swimming a little bit, speed of the game is moving a little faster. Well, Colston Loveland doesn't really seem to care about any of that stuff. He said to us on what Tuesday, look, like, this is still football at the end of the day. And if you know what your assignment is, if you're detailed with it, you're going to be able to execute it and just execute it to the best of your ability. And little by little, you'll improve. So early returns on Colston Loveland, very promising. Good to hear that the quarterback agrees with that, because his rapport with Loveland is going to be as important as anybody's, including the head coach.
We're going to get to Dennis Allen here in a second. And Colston Loveland, we know, I mean, it's just beginning. It's just beginning. My impression so far is that he gets it in terms of being an NFL player. He seems like a grinder. You never know, because everybody always says everybody works hard, but it does feel like, I don't know, Dan, that he's got that mentality. Are you buying that? Like, I'm feel that's the early feeling I have on Colston Loveland.
It seems natural to him, honestly. It just seems like that's DNA stuff from his Idaho upbringing, and that he's there. He's a grinder. He knows how to work hard. He knows what it's supposed to look like, what it's supposed to feel like, and he goes after it. And so those are the types of things that when you get a little bit anxious about the progress of the Bears offense, you look around and you see the skill that they have acquired. It's a Loveland and a Komet as the tight ends. It's DeAndre Swift in the backfield. It's DJ and Rome and Luther Burton, who's been a little bit more active the last couple of days. And you say, man, there's some pieces here to work with, right? And so ultimately that should help both Ben and Caleb do their jobs better. That includes Grote, by the way. We've been seeing a little bit more DJ Moore in the backfield here this week, which is a fun little sight. That's
we saw some of that last year. We saw that in season.
But it brings a different dimension, right? And like it gives you a little bit more some dynamic stuff to work with, and DJ seems comfortable with it, and Ben seems to identify DJ as a guy that, hey, however many ways we can use him to get the ball in his hands and let him make plays with the ball in his hands, we're gonna experiment with it and try it out, and it's gonna be fun to see kind of what they settle on in terms of the creative uses of DJ.
Was it at this time last year that we were putting Velus Jones Jr. on the running back depth chart? I think it was.
Different player. DJ. Better ball security, a little bit more accomplished as an NFL player. But yeah, those experiments have happened, right?
Yeah.
But
I love it.
It's one of those things, like if you identify that you can use one of your playmakers in a way that makes him more explosive and ultimately makes the defense a little bit more uncomfortable, then all for it, lean into it, figure out what it looks like.
All right, we're going to get the DA here, but a quick halftime report. I got bullet points for Wiederer, things that are just on my mind really quick. How have the crowds been out there? What has that activity been like? I've yet to be out there with the townspeople at training camp.
Early morning practices. Weather has been a little bit iffy. It was really, really hot early in the week. Now today it was a little overcast, a little drizzle in spots. Haven't been real huge crowds out here yet. And there hasn't been the buzz. And I think, I was walking back from the parking lot during the lunch hour here today and just thinking about, man, like this has been like a very low buzz camp to this point. They're just because the on-field stuff has been kind of low volume and muted, and the energy around the camp has just been kind of low volume and muted. And so you just, if that's an honest report about how the camp has been so far, it just hasn't felt like, whoa, this is a big event like sometimes you feel when you're out at training camp.
Look, it's never been the same since Bourbonnais, and that's just because of the ability to put 10,000 to 13,000 people at Bourbonnais, or even before that, Platteville, for all our olds listening to the podcast here and the other various places that the Bears have trained throughout their history. So it is what it is. I mean, I still think it's way better that they're practicing in Lake Forest, but that part simply has not been the same. Two more bullet points, Dan, before we get serious again here. What was the lunch today? What was the sandwich that you wolfed down? I'm going ham and cheese probably for you today. How did it go?
No, we were back to buffalo chicken wrap in the rotation. That's a good one.
I do
That's
like a buffalo chicken wrap. I like that one. That's a
nacho cheese Doritos, and you haven't been out here in a few days, so there's always a little package of grandma's cookies in the bottom of those lunch bags, as you see. They're not very popular. And so now over between Zach Pearson and Jason Leeser's cubicles, there is basically a grandma's cookies castle that has been built with all the cookies that people have removed from their lunch bags and said, I don't really want these. And they go over there. And so that, maybe we can take a picture of that, share that on social media, and people can see what we need to do with that. Jeremy Fowler in from ESPN today tried to take from the grandma's cookie stash, and we told him that he needed to sign a waiver before he broke up the cast.
Shout out to the Bears for feeding us. We do take that for granted, but we appreciate it. They do take care of us during training camp, and it's very nice. Last thing before DA, Dan, we probably got to keep this podcast moving because it looks like where are you today? Are you in illegal territory? You're in front of like it's a sick background. That bear should be everywhere.
We don't need to talk about where I am. I'm somewhere where I can record the podcast. I've got a nice background, and we're going to leave it at that.
All right, Dan, what did Dennis Allen, the Bears defensive coordinator, have to say that interested you today?
Well, generally speaking, like DA is going to be a little bit more dry than Ben. I think you've gotten that impression to this point. You don't necessarily get insight into everything that he's trying to do. But what I do like right now about what he's doing with this defense is this aggressive mentality and this versatile mentality, right? And that kind of allows this Bears defense to spread its wings. And I think that they have identified players that can help them in a variety of ways. I think forefront on first and foremost on that list is a guy we've talked about since the spring is Kyler Gordon, as a guy who Dennis Allen talked about almost immediately upon arriving here as a guy that could play different roles. He's obviously really special as a slot corner in the NFL. Well, now he can go outside sometimes. Now he can shift into a safety role. Now you can run dime packages out onto the field more frequently and move guys into different positions where the offense is trying to guess, like, wait a second, who's doing what? Who's responsible for what here? And now all of a sudden you're dictating things to the offense, which is probably some of the reason that the Bears offense is having some of the struggle they're having. Thought it was really cool to hear from DA on Kyler Gordon today, a day after hearing from Kyler Gordon about saying, like, look, like, I'm into this, right? Like, this is a way for me to take my NFL career to the next level. And so it's really cool to be able to use my versatility in a way that makes the entire 11-man defense more flexible. Now all of a sudden you've got this very aggressive minded coordinator with some pieces to work with. And that I think is really, really cool. And it's going to be fun to watch how they experiment with that in the early going and figure out what the identity ultimately turns out to be.
I love it when defensive coordinators are creative. You could look at your base and say, this guy's good here, this guy's good here, that guy's good there. But when you start to shift guys around and create confusion for the offense, then that's big. And I heard Caleb Williams saying it, and I've heard his predecessors say it, Mitch Trubisky and Justin Fields, and probably even Jay Cutler back in the day, praising the defense, talking about how good they are, some of the unexpected things that they are doing. And it is just by nature, the nature of training camp and football, that the defense is just going to have, it's just easier. It's easier to react to what the offense is doing in practice, especially when you have some idea of what they're going to do.
Here's an interesting topic of conversation on the defensive side of the ball, which I think is notable. Dennis Allen was asked a question today on whether the number 2 cornerback job was solidified. Our assumption, I think, all along has been if Jalen Johnson is healthy, he's CB1 and Tyreek Stevenson is CB2 opposite him. Well, it sounds like DA is open-minded to the idea that, hey, there might be a competition between Tyreek Stevenson and Nahshon Wright. Hey, Nick McLeod has impressed us over the last few days of practice in a way that's given us a feeling like he might be able to earn a role. Oh, by the way, can any of us just assume that Jalen Johnson is going to be ready for week 1? We haven't even seen Jalen standing beside the practice field since we arrived at training camp. So if you have to go to Monday Night Football against the Vikings at Soldier Field without your best defensive player and certainly your best defensive back, what does that look like? Well, through most of camp, it's been Wright and Stevenson lining up at those outside corner positions. Both of them have had pretty solid camps to this point. I think Nahshon Wright has been a little bit of a revelation. I had a chance to talk to him last weekend, and look, he spent almost the entirety of last season on the practice squad of the Minnesota Vikings. And so, like, he didn't see the field much. He played 15 special team snaps in one game in December last year. But every single day he was working his craft against Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and going up against Kevin O'Connell and that entire Vikings offense. And so I feel like he benefited from that time on the practice squad in Minnesota, challenging himself against Justin Jefferson, who he said was very supportive and told him every day, like, be you, like, bring your most aggressive physical stuff here. I'm cool with it. Even as a superstar, you can try to rough me up in practice and we'll work through it. And Nahshon Wright's been a guy I think that is a reminder of when you get a new coaching staff here, it sort of shakes up the vision on the roster, right? And so there's no assumption that Terrell Smith is just going to be the next man in line. Well, no, it's been Nahshon Wright since the spring. It's been Nahshon Wright through training camp. And then when you hear Dennis Allen bring up Nick McLeod's name today, it was one of those moments where you're like, okay, so that's another guy that's caught this coaching staff's attention in a way where he might be able to factor in to this cornerback conversation as the rest of the preseason moves along.
Man, Tyreek Stevenson, it just feels like he has to prove himself every year. I mean, going back to his rookie year, where I think we all knew he was going to be the starter, but they at least gave the appearance that Terrell Smith was competing with him that year. And I remember Tyreek having a very good camp his first year, but based on last year, I mean, even taking the Hail Mary part out of it, which is really hard to do, he had a very uneven season last year, and different coaching staffs see different personnel different ways. And that's the first example of they might have a guy in Nahshon Wright. Now, maybe he's just there to challenge people and give the appearance of competition, but coaching staffs will tell you with what they do sometimes in practice what they are interested in, and they are interested in Nahshon Wright at the very least as depth, and it doesn't feel like. And then they said, like, the Terrell Smith thing is interesting because, right, we started to see Nahshon Wright pop in, and then when we asked about Terrell Smith, they said, well, he was unavailable for a lot of the offseason stuff. He's a little bit banged up. I just feel like they weren't giving a completely, telling the whole story about how they feel about the secondary right now.
Well, also, like Nahshon Wright spent his first 3 seasons in Dallas, where his defensive backs coach was Al Harris, who's now the Bears defensive backs coach.
Yeah,
so when you have a bond and you have a trust built up, and you have a coach like Al Harris, who's got a lot of credibility within this particular staff, it gives you an opportunity. And I think Nahshon Wright has been willing to kind of attack that opportunity with a lot of eagerness, a lot of purpose, and we'll see where it takes him. Dennis Allen also brought up the name of Tano Passano. We're going to get this right before the season's over. But essentially, you're talking about trying to figure out who are the guys that are going to give your pass rush some teeth. We know Montez Sweat and Dayo Adengbo are going to be your starters on the outside. It feels like Adengbo is going to be bumped inside frequently on obvious passing downs. And so then you're going to need another complementary edge rusher to come in and do some damage. And to hear Dennis Allen, who has familiarity with Passano, bring his name up, leads you to believe that maybe he's got an opportunity to win a job here in this defense and on this roster, which is obviously something that look, like Austin Booker was the talk of
where's he? Where's he?
Like, okay, where is he? Right. And what's next for him? Dennis Allen brought up Dom Robinson again today. Another glowing endorsement for what they see here. Who knows? Maybe it's this new defense and this new coordinator that is ultimately going to turn it loose for Dom Robinson. You and I are both firmly seated in the wait and see section on this, but
I hear this every year about him. Every year we hear this about Dom. Even in his rookie year, I bought it. Every year since then, it's been like, hey man, at this time, he's that guy. Yeah.
So we'll see. But like I said, it's just a reminder that a lot of times with a new staff, the talk of blank slates isn't just lip service, that they really mean it, that they're really putting fresh eyes on the entirety of the depth chart and trying to put it together in a way that makes them feel comfortable. And so I think things are going to be fluid here over the next month, and we'll be here to kind of track the fluid.
Voluminously. There are a few injury nuggets before we get out of here. We mentioned Jalen Johnson. Still, he is supposedly rehabbing his injury in the building, but there has been no sight of him. He's not been out on the sideline with his teammates. It is what it is. I don't have an opinion either way on that. It would be nice to see the man. It makes me concerned, but he is a veteran who I trust that if he's just getting over an injury, he'll be good to go on day one of the NFL season and maybe even play in some of those practices with the Miami Dolphins and who's the other team?
Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills. How could I forget the Buffalo Bills? And then what else, Dan? We got Braxton Jones that would look like a veteran, like a just take it easy day for him. Was
just a rest day? It feels like a similar thing that they had last week, where you went 2 on, 1 off, 1 on, and then you get the full team day off. Jonah Jackson leg injury day to day. That's a significant one up front as you're trying to figure out some things up there. His probable backup is Bill Murray, who's also out. So that left Ryan Bates in there today at right guard, taking most of the reps there. Some of the guys that were out over the weekend that came back, Doug Kramer's back in action, looks all right. And you feel like they've gotten through 7 practices in a good spot on the injury watch list, but camp's a long grind. So we'll see what it looks like a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now.
All right, well, we got to go here. Dave the Cat has been dying to make an appearance on the show, so if you're watching YouTube in the video right now, look how calm he is. He's been meowing. Oh, now he wants to go.
Yeah, now he wants to score. He wants to rush the passer. He wants to get after it.
So there goes Dave the Cat. I think that's going to do it for us today, Dan, unless there's anything else that you were just dying to tell us. I know you got to get out of that studio before, somebody might take you out, considering where I think you might be at Hallis Hall.
You can't tell people where I'm at right now. But no, I'm just looking forward to sharing some form of chicken wrap with you out here again soon when you get back out here. And
I will. I swear I will return out there.
We'll get in those bleachers, and we'll really we'll put eyes on things on Thursday for the last practice of this week, and then we go into the weekend session, which includes, Grote, don't forget, we've got a family fest on Sunday at Soldier Field.
Yes.
One other programming note here: on Thursday, they are planning to make all 3 left tackle competitors available. That's Trapillo, it's Braxton, it is Karan Amagaji, all three of them to the podium on Thursday. So we'll have a lot to talk about next time.
At the same time? Will this be all at the same time?
No,
or,
one by one.
We don't like all at the same time, just for you listeners of the podcast. Nobody in the media likes it when there's multiple people up there. Nobody ever gets their fair share of questions. So thank you for everybody for listening to the podcast here today. For Dan Wiederer of the Chicago Tribune and of The Score, for our executive producer, Adam Studzinski, who's still recovering, I am Mark Grote saying thank you for listening and watching the Take the Damn North podcast.
Great talk. See you out there.